Hi everyone. In this video, we are finally going to walk you through how to enroll your clients inside the system. We will ask that you watch this video and then go through the process of enrolling a fake client yourself, like Wile E. Coyote. In order to use that fake client as part of the next course that you'll take for the measure, plan, and engage process, you will need to have a client enrolled that you can use to complete the evaluation. So, inside of the ARM system, to enroll a new client, we're going to start on our active client screen, and we're going to come down to the bottom right-hand corner and we're going to select the Add New Client button. The first thing that will pop up is a window asking to enter in the client's social security number just to verify if they are already an ARMS user. That way we retain the same login information for the client, and we would just associate your program to their client portal. So they would have the same login credentials and they'd be able to now interact with your program. If they're a brand new client, which we're going to go through now, then we're going to issue a new portal to them. So I'm just going to enter in a random set of numbers that should not be a social security number. And when I go to check this, you can see it pops up with a little box that says client SSN is not matched. So it wants us to create a new client. After I select the Create New Client button, it'll take us to that general intake screen you saw in the previous video, where we can begin the process of enrolling our client. The very first thing I want to do is, because this is a test client, really important that I select this box. If you've gone through the process of enrolling a dummy case and you've hit save, you no longer have the option to mark them as a test client, and it would make it very difficult to delete that client's information from your application. Test client allows us to ensure we can very easily remove this from your program. It doesn't impact things like your dashboards reports. It also doesn't feed over to the researchers as part of the de-identified information that goes over to them for research purposes, because they wouldn't know it's a test case. So it's really important that we select test client here. The next box that we're going to complete is the admissions date. This is the admission date to your program. When did they enroll? When did they begin with your program? So it does allow us to backdate. Just because your program has started to use the ARM system today doesn't mean you don't have clients who haven't already been there for a while. So we're going to go back and select June the 2nd as an example for this client. Then I'm going to select the first name field to begin the process of enrolling the information in the side of the system. So you'll notice here we have first name, last name, middle name, and preferred name. I'm going to enroll Donald Duck, and I'm going to say he doesn't have a middle name and he prefers to be called Donald. Reference number is internal. That's something that you can use for your program however you'd like to. Some programs do use reference numbers, some programs don't. This is just a way to be able to quickly identify information or organize it in a certain fashion that's appropriate for your program. Next, we'd like to select gender, date of birth, social, ethnicity, priority population, and recovery path. So here we're going to select gender from this list. And Donald does identify as a male. We're going to enter in his date of birth, and I'm going to first just change the year. And we're going to go back to May the 8th of 1969. The next area is ethnicity. I'm going to select Caucasian for Donald Duck's ethnicity, and then we're going to select priority population. So priority population is a multi-select field. I'm going to select co-occurring disorder. He's on Department of Corrections supervision. He is on a MAT protocol. And then I'm going to come down to recovery path. This is also a multi-select field, but Donald has chosen to go with a 12-step program. So this is his recovery path. Now you can select any response from the drop-downs for the higher education, life skills, vocational, marital status, education level, survivor of domestic violence, and last incident of violence, currently fleeing, and children. What I mean by that is that it wants to know at this moment, or the moment when Donald Duck arrived at my program, was he involved in higher education? Was he involved in life skills training? Vocational? What was or what is his current marital status? Married. What is his highest level of education that he's completed? Is he a victim or survivor of domestic violence? If the answer is yes, you'll notice that a couple of extra questions do appear here. If the answer is no, those questions disappear. The same with whether or not Donald has any children. You'll notice it's going to ask, are any of them living with you, yes or no? And then if yes, of course, what are the names and ages of the children? I'm going to select no. There we go. The last two areas are here, where we have the ability to take a picture of Donald if we're using a mobile device that has a camera, or you can click the camera icon, point, aim, ask him to smile, and then take a picture. Or we can save a picture to our device, and then we can upload that picture from the device by selecting the upload button. We're going to go to pictures. I'm going to choose the image of Donald Duck. It's going to ask us just to select. There we go. Drag that box around there. Crop. And now we have Donald Duck's image in here. If my program if my program collects any identification as part of the documentation, I can have those scanned into my device or take a picture of them, and then I can upload them the same way that I did with the photo here, and they would store inside of the client record. Now, we're going to go through the process of creating a new client portal because remember, we checked the Social Security number and Donald doesn't currently have a login for the ARM system. So it gives you a brief instruction guide here, and it also provides you with a link to where the clients log in because it is different from your website. So if we were to click on this link, it'll open up a new tab to the website, which is accounts.recoveryoutcomes.com. So it's accounts.recoveryoutcomes.com. And here is where we're going to create this information. Now, this does associate their contact information in the same area. So what we want to do is enter in the client's email, phone number, address, obviously postcode is part of that, create the username, a temporary password, and assign the preferred communication method. So the first thing we'll do is we'll enter in Donald Duck's email address. We'll enter in his phone number, his address, city. It defaults to the country of the United States of America. If that is inaccurate, you can choose from a list of the other countries that the ARM system is currently active in. We would select the state. We would enter in the postal code. And then we'd create a username. Now I tend to create the username as the client's email address, so that's very easy for them to remember. And then I'm going to come down and issue a temporary password. It will ask them to log in with the temporary password and then immediately prompt them to change it. So I can choose anything as a temporary password. For instance, I can just select 1234, and then I'm going to select the preferred communication method. Well, I'd like Donald to be able to receive text and email notifications from the system, so I'm going to select both. Now Donald will receive a notification that this has successfully enrolled him in the ARM system to both his email address and the mobile phone number that I provided here. Next, we're going to come down to the employment status section. We're able to select Donald Duck's employment status at the time of enrollment inside of your program. So here we would be able to select, let's say he was not ready for employment yet. Then we'd come down to the enrollment and discharge section. And we're going to, let's see here, select which phase Donald is going to be enrolled in. So all of my new clients are enrolled in phase 1. Donald is going to start in phase 1, but remember he actually started with me back in June. So it was June the 2nd, 2022. Donald may actually be in phase 2 by now, and that would be okay to select phase 2, but I'm going to keep Donald in phase 1. Recovery milestone date is Donald's anniversary date. So we're going to enter in his anniversary date, which is June the 1st. And we're going to put a caseload. We're going to assign a caseload in the caseload box here. So I'm going to come down, and again, this is what we created in one of those earlier videos. So we can select the person that we are going to assign Donald Duck to. And again, you notice the bed board is here. So we're going to go over to assign to a bed. And this will display any of the empty beds that are currently available for me to assign Donald Duck to. I'm going to select Marvin's house. Now I want to know where Donald came from. How did he get to us? Well, he was referred over by Looney Tunes Drug Court. And it was Marvin that referred him over. I don't have a reference number or anything. This may actually be useful to tie back to the referral source. So if there was a case number, for example, or an ID number that they associated to this client, rather than sharing client details, you can save the ID number so that you know that this is how we communicate with the referral source. I would then put any, because my program has client categories set up inside of the system, which we will go to in a different training inside of the knowledge-based system. I would select any of the client categories that Donald is going to be enrolled in. For now, I'm just going to select one. Medical screening is the last section as part of the general intake question. And I'm going to select either yes or no to each of the following questions. Has he ever tested positive for COVID-19? Has he ever tested positive for HIV, hepatitis C, or tuberculosis? Once I've gone through this, I would scroll back up to the top. I could enter in any intake questions that need to be completed. Again, to the screening section here. And to these intake questions, I could answer any of the stuff that needs to be filled in. And then we're going to hit save. Now you'll see, here's Donald Duck's record. He's been assigned in phase 1. He's in the Marvin's house location. This is that client category that he's part of. We have his anniversary date, his age, some of his basic demographics, his admission date, and his phone number available at the very top. So please take a moment, go ahead and practice, enroll a test client inside of the system. You will need a test client in order to get to the next training, to complete the measure, plan, engage activities. And please remember to select that test client checkbox. Thank you so much, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you in the next training.